Good morning, everyone, and thanks a lot for joining this new webinar of the Energy Efficiency Academy. We wait just 1 or 2 more minutes before we start. You can see normally on your screen the agenda. And while other participants are connecting, you soon see some quick questions so that we know a bit more about you. So please answer that, and then we'll be starting. Okay, I think we can start. I guess more participants will continue to join, but we have a dense agenda as you can see it on the screen, so that's better that we start on time. So as I said from the, well, maybe you missed the first question on your screen, so you can also see it in the chat if you missed it, if you did not answer about how many webinars of the Academy you already attended, but let's say for the moment we have close to 40% that are newcomers to the Academy, so I'm very much happy to welcome you to this webinar series, and I hope that it will meet your expectations. And from the distribution of organizations, there is a majority of public bodies, but also others, so maybe third sector organizations and a few NGOs and private companies as well. So thanks for answering that. Today we will be speaking about energy poverty, that topic that was also covered in the previous project. But today we look at it from a new look with a focus also on Portugal and update from the Energy Poverty Advisory Hub. You can see the 4 speakers here. I will introduce them along the webinar. Just a quick reminders about the housekeeping rules. You can ask questions anytime in the Q&A panel. I really encourage you to use the Q&A panel to ask your questions, because there other participants can also see your question. They can vote for them so that we prioritize the questions we ask. And also it makes that your questions are not lost in the flow of exchanges that can happen in the chat. In the chat, you can share comments or other information. That's also where you will get the links that, of the different documents, resources, or websites that are presented today. On the website, you can also access all the proceedings of the previous webinars. You can see here the page of the website. You go in updates and then webinars, and you have the full list of webinars there, which means that to answer the typical question we get, yes, the webinar is recorded, the recordings will be shared, and the presentation files as well. So you will receive that in email after the webinar when everything is published. About the project itself and recent contents that have been published on the website, there have been updated versions of the sectoral profiles, country profiles, the scoreboard. The ODYSSEE data are now updated to cover time series until 2024 included. There are also some first early estimates for 2025. You may also find new or updated measures in the MURE database. And a first policy brief for this year has been published on energy efficiency trends in industry that relates to the webinar that we had in December. So I really encourage you to go to the ODYSSEE website if you want to see more. The next webinar is also planned. That will be on the 18th of March, and that will present the scoreboard based on the data compiled last year. And there will be also a focus on Ireland, new developments and new trends on energy efficiency in Ireland. We will continue also further this webinar series this semester. In April, we will hear about the Industry Pact French measure. And then in June, there will be a continuation on this series on industry with a webinar on energy audits for the manufacturing industry. To stay tuned about any activity and publication of the project, I encourage you to register to the newsletter and also to follow us on LinkedIn. And I think Anousheh will share the corresponding link in the chat. About other upcoming events that can be of interest to you as you attend this webinar, you're probably interested in energy poverty, so you may know already about the Energy Poverty Advisory Hub annual conference. I guess João Pedro will say a few more words about this in a minute. There is also the ECEE summer study this June. That is a partnership we have with ECEE for this project, and ODYSSEE and MURE will be there. And also the EU Sustainable Energy Week, the next week in June in Brussels. That's it for me for the introduction, and now I'm happy to hand it over to João Pedro Gouveia for an update about the latest activity of the Energy Poverty Advisory Hub. João Pedro, okay. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Sebastian. Good morning, everyone. So my name is João Pedro Gouveia. I'm from Nova University of Lisbon in Portugal, and also part of the coordination team of the Energy Poverty Advisory Hub. And today, I'm going to scan here for my presentation on the policy context and funding at the European level to support energy poverty, but also on activities we have been conducting in the last years of capacity building at multiple levels, both national to regional levels, and on-the-ground support activities. So probably some of the things you are aware attending this webinar, but the European policy framework addressing energy poverty relies on three major directives. So the Energy Efficiency Directive from 2023, where is this first binding EU level definition of energy poverty that then the member states could translate and work in their own context. Also, coming from the Energy Efficiency Directive, the member states must set indicative national targets, and then energy poverty measures and framework should be integrated into the national energy and climate plans or dedicated strategies, as we'll see also today for Portugal. Then we have also the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive from 2024, with the prioritization of vulnerable households in renovation plans, and then mandates to progressive renovate worst performing buildings, for example. Then also coupled to this, the electricity and gas directives. When we're looking for financial instruments, of course, which are a key part of the solution, also funding, we have upcoming the Social Climate Fund, we have the ERDF and Cohesion Funds to support also renovation especially. We have the Just Transition Fund, targeting territories dependent on fossil fuels and protecting vulnerable communities from energy cost increases during transition in specific regions at European level. And then we are mostly concluding some of that money from the REPowerEU and the Recovery and Resilience Plan, trying to boost and accelerate renewable deployment and buildings renovation. And then what's the European governance and monitoring to tackle energy poverty? Of course, there are different and other pieces of the puzzle, let's say, but the core ones are the national energy and climate plans at member state level. There is the Energy Poverty Advisory Hub, this European initiative launched in 2021, and that we have been supporting and guiding different member states and local authorities to address energy poverty. And I'll talk about that in the next slides. And then there's the overall European Commission oversight with the monitoring progress, the reviewing of the documents and the materials that the member states also release. And then we have also the ETS2 carbon pricing mechanism to as a structure for funding and guiding also policy. So on that perspective, today I'll be focusing about the leading EU initiative run by the European Commission, the Energy Poverty Advisory Hub. Our vision is to eradicate energy poverty and accelerate just energy transition of European local communities. And of course, strengthening this component of being a central platform of energy poverty expertise, knowledge exchange, and sharing of information and data across Europe. So how exactly structured and what are our target groups as addressing the ecosystem of energy poverty? So during my presentation, I'll also put links that some of them Jean-Sebastian is sharing, but also I have here the QR codes that you can have a look. So that we have a video, a recent video. We have a leaflet where we kind of overall presentation of EPAH. But then what's the structure? So there is a core team built by us at Nova School of Science and Technology, Nova University of Lisbon, with mostly the scientific coordination and related to indicators, data, and knowledge. And then we have Climate Alliance in Belgium, Acarium in Austria, EcoSurvey in Spain, and IS4 in Italy. But this time, on this second contract with the Commission, with DG Energy, we have also extent of national antennas across the 27 member states. So we have one partner per member state to support our dissemination and local actions. Where the target group is really broad. It's coming from on a research perspective, but also local governments, national entities, policymakers, civil society organizations that have been participating with us, integrating their knowledge and sharing with others throughout the different events. So as overarching objectives and activities, and I'll quickly go through some of them. As a knowledge hub, we develop similar activities as this webinar. We have regular lunch talks on specific topics. I'll show you a few of them. We have working groups coming now from European projects and initiatives that want to share tools and methods and practices to avoid the overlaps and create synergies. We have also practitioners events across Europe, both in person and online. Policy sessions and international conferences as well. The next one will be next month, but I'll tell you about it in a second. So some examples about the practitioners events and lunch talks. We have been having this every month, especially the lunch talks. We try to make this connection between the lunch talk topic and the practitioners event to get more insights from the ground, from different countries, and then to translate that into information for a general European audience. So recent talks were about equity and vulnerability in energy poverty, or through energy renovation and affordable housing to address energy poverty. In practitioners events, we had 3 last year. So the first one was about summer energy poverty. The second one was focused on renovation in Central and Eastern Europe. And the third one was on equity and vulnerability, connected also with a lunch talk. But then part of our work, and also connected some things with what ODYSSEE and MURE also does, it's about in-depth reporting, data, and knowledge sharing. So we have an indicators dashboard of energy poverty. Currently, we have 29 related energy poverty indicators to contextualize strongly the problem. In the next weeks, we'll be adding several more connected with climate, health, excess mortality as well. But on this dashboard, you can add information both at national and regional level when information is publicly available. And then we have this kind of leaflet for each of the indicators used for to show the limits, examples of use, the definitions, and specific numbers across the EU. Another relevant tool is this EPAH Atlas. We have over 300 projects covered and characterized, so ranging from European projects to local level and national projects. This atlas has also inspired other tools across different countries. You can submit your own project if you find it is not there yet. And you can also submit your organization working on energy poverty to enlarge the connection and the network we have already there. Also, a strong part of the work is increasing capacity of local communities. So on this front, we have been working and providing handbooks and guidelines, practical guidebooks for cities and local governments to address energy poverty, from a diagnosis phase to planning activities to implementation. And then really timely also this talk, we have our third round of technical assistances open. So where we provide tailor-made solutions for local governments. It's open since the 16th of February. It will close in the 31st of March. So have a look into that. We'll be supporting 50 new projects across Europe. I'll not cover all, but I have here examples from past technical assistances from Portugal, but just to scan you through that, and then you get access to the slides or the recording to have a look in depth. But then we have supported activities around, for example, interviews, lived experience of people in rural historical areas. On the right side of all these slides, you'll see who did we reach in Portugal and who was left out. So in this case, we reached rural, low income, low education, ill health, and elderly. And with this approach and this technical assistance, we left out migrants, tenants, and employed young and multifamily apartments. So this is an aftermath of the assessment of the activities, like understanding who, with this methodology, with a specific process, we are maybe leaving behind, but who are we really targeting? Another example, really successful, already amplified at the European level as well. The first inclusive renewable energy community in Portugal was supported, coming from an idea, was supported from EPAH, from the Energy Poverty Advisory of Technical Assistance. It's scaling, who is reaching high income, low income, and elderly people, especially. Another activity we have supported was a replication of a mobile one-stop shop, the transition point. So we covered 4 municipalities in Portugal. So who did we reach with this one-stop shop, physical, on the ground, low income, low education, elderly, and unemployed? And then all these leaflets are available in the EPAH website, both the Portuguese one, but also the other projects we run across the member states. Then another example where we monitored homes, vulnerable homes for temperature, for humidity, diagnosing the problem, and then to get information for the municipality to act in subsequent actions. And then finally, the fifth one we supported in Portugal was to connect with health centers and doctors and nurses. So there was a diagnosis part coming from the doctors, and then they forwarded people to get support in other different actions, either energy advice points or the mobile one-stop shops we were running in a close-by location. So this project with health centers, with social entities, with the civil parishes and so on, was able to reach a really wide diversity of people. So from low income, from migrants, elderly, ill health, and disabled people, and also unemployed and tenants. So this was a really interesting novel project. To conclude my presentation, and just to give you the information, so we have opened now the call for technical assistance. You may see all the information in our website, or you can get, and also following this link, you can get access to the submission form, the Q&A that people have been posing to us. On the right side, you'll see the calendar of our webinars, national webinars. So we have run most of them. For example, the Portuguese one was on Tuesday, like 90 people attended. So there is interest really in action on energy poverty at the different levels across member states. And then my final slide, the registration is open still for our upcoming international conference in Athens in the 17th and 18th of March. So you are welcome to join us. Hopefully we can see you there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, João Pedro. I think that was a very useful presentation to remind the European background, and also very nice to see the diversity of projects that EPAH is supporting and the diversity of activities you're organizing. Maybe a quick questions before we move to the next presentation. So we see you focused on projects that were supported in Portugal, and that's great, because indeed today we focus on Portugal. But already from this project we can see a diversity of projects. Let's say from the various technical assistance activities you've done and supervised in EPAH, do you see some key emerging issues, or at the opposite, some recurring issues that are always the same that you encounter every time?
Yeah, perfect. Good question. So we try to support diversity. So not only diversity of topics, but also diversity of problems and member states and regions. So we want to, and in the past we have supported development, initial or scaling of renewable energy communities, but on the inclusive perspective, really targeting energy poverty. We have supported the development of several one-stop shops for energy advice, for energy efficiency support as well. There was a strong component, which I think makes sense on this phase of countries and regions to address energy poverty, a strong component of diagnosis. Still people wanting to know more. So cities and local governments know they have a problem, either because of national statistics or because they see the problem on the ground. So, but they have an idea to start. So where do they start? They should start with the diagnosis part. So collecting data, connecting the different municipal departments, maybe talking with the citizens. So that's what we have seen, and that's why this time around we created these working groups of also experts and communities to share knowledge, because people were developing across. We see that also often across European projects. People are developing similar surveys. People are developing similar infrastructure for one-stop shops or so. So there is the potential for synergy. So that's what we want to do with the technical assistance around, not only supporting the specific local governments from civil parishes to municipalities or even super-municipality, if that's the case, but also to try to share the knowledge across the union in a diverse way.
Well, that makes a perfect transition, João Pedro, because fostering cross-sharing experience, that's also the objective of ODYSSEE and MURE. And on that, I think on different aspects, the both initiatives are very complementary. So the time we move to the next presentation, you will get another question from Anouche. I also remember you that if you have not looked at it in the chat, you will see that most of the links that, for example, João Pedro mentioned are there if you're interested. And maybe before we move to the next presentation, I can give the results of the first polls about EPAH. So about 40%. So you can also answer the questions that you missed. So if you go in the chat, you will see if you join later, you can see the earlier questions. So about 40% of the participants who answered were already aware of EPAH. So it means it's good because you reach new people today. And from the participants who are aware of EPAH, it seems that the most commonly used resource is the energy poverty indicators dashboard, but I guess it aligns also with the statistics you have on the website. And in terms of activities, from the ones who answered, half of them attended lunch talks already, force practitioners events, and a bit less the annual conferences. I guess it's because also you need to travel, but I really encourage you to join João Pedro in Athens next month for the next one. So now we go from EPAH to ODYSSEE and MURE, and we will start with Isabel Pereira from the Portuguese agency ADENE, who will provide an overview of what you can find about energy poverty in ODYSSEE and MURE, and also introduce us to a bit more specifically to what you can find about Portugal. Isabel, the floor is yours.
Hi everyone, thank you, Jean-Sébastien. I believe you're already seeing my screen.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. So before diving into the platform, I would just like to give a brief overview of what we will cover. This presentation will introduce ODYSSEE and MURE platform and try to highlight how it can support analysis and design of policies aimed at tackling energy poverty. The goal will be to keep things practical and show you where to find relevant information like indicators and policy information that can support any activity in this area. So ODYSSEE database, ODYSSEE and MURE comprises two complementary databases. ODYSSEE database focuses on indicators and trends that are related to energy efficiency and energy consumption, while MURE provides us quantitative and qualitative information on energy efficiency policies implemented at EU or national level across all member states. Together, they allow us to link data and policies, which is particularly relevant when addressing complex issues such as energy poverty. ODYSSEE and MURE is widely used to support the implementation of the Energy Efficiency Directive, and it complements both EU level and national initiatives in this field. Access to ODYSSEE database can be done without registration, with a more limited access, but you still can analyze some key indicators. However, our presentation will cover a targeted a detailed version of the ODYSSEE database. I will show some indicators that can be consulted with this registered version. Just to mention that access is free for all EU ministries, concerted action, EED and EED committee members, also EU universities and EU-funded projects. Other users can visit the trial version and require subscription. The indicators are organized by sector: macro, industry, transport, household, services. Although energy poverty is not a standalone section, several household-related indicators are directly relevant to this analysis. And these indicators include topics such as inability to keep home warm, dwellings with damp problems, and arrears with utility bills. We also have in the ODYSSEE database other indicators that complement the energy poverty ones, and we highlight the dwellings efficiency, renovation, energy expenditures, energy budget, monetary savings, space heating. So now I will try to show some examples, and let me change to sorry. I think you are seeing now the website.
Yes.
Okay. So as an example, we will, sorry, not this one. Okay. I'm sorry, I thought this was already signed in. Okay, so in the household sectors, as I mentioned, we will be analyzing energy poverty indicators. In this case, we will see this indicator, inability to keep home warm. First, we will have to select the country. In this case, we will analyze Portugal's results and also European Union to compare. And choose the period, the time frame, we will choose the last one. So now we can see the results here of the Portugal share of population able to keep home adequately warm, the percentage, and the percentage of the EU average. We can complement this looking at another indicator in the financial sector, like this one, energy budgets. Let's look at energy in housing costs. And here we see the percentage for Portugal and European Union. We see that in contrast, the share of energy expenditures in housing costs is lower than the European average, as the other one we had higher results in Portugal than the European average. However, in the second one, the gap is smaller compared to the previous indicator. In this presentation, the objective is only to demonstrate how to consult, so we will not look into the analysis of the results. And some of these indicators will be addressed in the following presentation. So this is what I would like to show. Some of the indicators we can access and analyze in this more detailed version of the ODYSSEE database. Back to the presentation. Okay. So while ODYSSEE focuses on data, MURE allows us to explore policy responses. So using the MURE database, it is possible to identify measures that are relevant to energy poverty. And we will look into this. You can access MURE database and you can use simple filters such as sector, country, and measure type. Let's just try. And we also have here some more advanced options. In this case, we have a filter related to energy poverty and sufficiency. And we can choose energy poverty aiming mainly or exclusively at energy poverty measures, or measures including an important component addressing energy poverty. So we'll start to select some filters. We will choose here the sector to be the general cross-cutting and the country Portugal. And here we'll keep both the options on the energy poverty measures. So let's do a search, and here we find these three general cross-cutting measures, Portuguese measures that are related to energy poverty. We will select, just as an example, this one. Sorry, it's not this that I want. Yes, it's what the household one. We will select the Energy Spaces Network. And I would just like to say that this measure is one of the most recent Portuguese measures. And it's a network of physical service counters that offer proximity-based assistance to citizens on matters related to energy consumption, energy efficiency, and access to financial support or instruments. So each measure has this look. So it allows you to have a short description on the side, and also a detailed description and the current status and links to official sources that enable users to explore additional information. The Portuguese measures are relevant to energy poverty, are closely linked to the national strategy and action plan that will be presented later in the webinar. So this is just an example of how we can use MURE database. Now back to the presentation. To conclude, we can also on ODYSSEE MURE website, we can also access to policy briefs. Several policy briefs specifically address energy poverty related strategies, particularly those under cross-cutting and buildings categories. One example of a policy brief that may be of interest is this main energy poverty measures in Europe, characterization from EPAH and EED perspectives. You can access from this link. But I can also show quickly how to get there from the database. So in the ODYSSEE MURE website, we have this publications side where you can access the policy briefs, and this cross-cutting, you can find the policy brief I was mentioning. I would also like to take this opportunity to mention that at least one more policy brief on this topic is planned for publication later this year. So Okay. To conclude my presentation, I would just like to say that ODYSSEE, in this case ODYSSEE, provides robust indicators to monitor trends relevant to energy poverty, while MURE offers a structured overview of policy measures implemented across Europe. Together, they support transparency, comparability, and evidence-based policymaking, complementing national monitoring efforts and EU initiatives such as EPAH, as we just saw. This introduction sets the scene for the next presentations, which will look in more detail at EU-level actions and Portugal's national strategy. And this is all from my side, and thank you for listening.
Thanks a lot, Isabel. I think that was very useful to showcase how to use first what users may find on the website, and also to showcase how to navigate into the many resources that you may find there, because indeed there are many. So that's always good to have a tool to guide you through this. And before we move to, so you already introduced the Portuguese strategy, and you refer to your colleagues, so we will hear from Madalena very soon. Just a quick question to you, Isabel, before we move to the next presentation. So you're an expert from an energy agency, so you're a typical user of ODYSSEE and MURE. If you would have to highlight, I don't know, one or two resources or contents that is very useful daily or regularly for you at the agency, which ones would it be?
Well, it's hard to pick indicators. I mean, they can be all relevant, but I think the analysis of the trends of the ODYSSEE database is very relevant, and also the MURE policies. I mean, you have the MURE database that allows you to see not also what you're doing, but also what other countries do, and have good examples of some measures that can be used in our national scenery, or maybe even local. So I think it's useful in many ways. It's hard to pick just one.
I agree. I would have the same difficulty to rank them. From the quick poll we had before your presentation, we can see that let's say most of the ones who answered were already familiar with the databases, but that's only one share of the participants. So I think we can assume that there were still participants for which either ODYSSEE or MURE were new to them. And now looking at the question about the Portuguese strategy, I would assume that the 27% who have already looked at it might be the Portuguese participants mostly. I know that there is a good group from Portugal today with us, and that then the 2/3 of participants who answered who are not aware, maybe they are from other countries. So that's very good for cross-country sharing, as both you said, João Pedro and Isabel, that we now focus on Portugal with Madalena Diaz dos Santos, who will present us a bit more in detail this strategy that Portugal has to tackle energy poverty. Madalena, the floor is yours.
So let me start by presenting our long-term national strategy. It was approved in the beginning of 2024, and with the aim of eradicating energy poverty until 2050. And it has 4 strategic pillars. The first one is sustainable and efficient housing. The second one aims at universal access to essential energy services. The third one regards integrated territorial action, and the fourth one is all about knowledge and informed action. The strategy also sets clear time-bound targets for 2030, 2040, and 2050, as we will see in a bit. So to achieve this, the National Energy Poverty Observatory was created with the mission of monitoring the evolution of energy poverty at the national level, including defining new strategic indicators at the territorial level to assist in the design and the evaluation of public policies. We also propose public policies for the eradication of energy poverty. We promote coordination between the different areas of public policy that contribute to the objectives of the long-term strategy. And lastly, we develop and propose 10-year action plans to tackle energy poverty. It's also important to note that the body of the observatory is composed by members of different agencies and institutions, such as the Directorate General for Energy, the National Energy Agency, the National Statistics Institute, and many others. And this varied composition allows for a multidisciplinary approach, which is very much needed in such a complex theme as energy poverty is. So, like I said, the long-term strategy has set goals for 3 benchmark years, 2030, 2040, and 2050, as you can see in each of these graphs. These graphs have some of the indicators that we use to monitor energy poverty, and for instance, the inability to keep a home adequately warm, we have seen with Isabel in the ODYSSEE and MURE portal. And as you can see here, this indicator was improving until 2021, when it started increasing again, reaching 20.8% in 2023, probably due to the war in Ukraine and the consequent increase in energy prices from it. Thankfully, this indicator decreased. In 2024, it reached 15.7%, the last time that it was reported, and the strategy aims for 10% in 2030, 5% in 2040, and 1% in 2050. Regarding the population living in houses that have leak, damp, or rotten elements, this indicator was at roughly 30.9% in 2024. So, and in 2030, it is aimed to reach 20%, in 2040, 10%, and in 2050, only 5%. Regarding the percentage of the population that are living in houses that are not comfortably cool during the summer, in 2024, the last time it was reported, this was roughly a third of the population. And in 2030, the strategy sets this for 20%, in 2040, 10%, and 2050, 5%. And lastly, as an example of also another indicator, the energy literacy index, which is quite low for Portugal. It's a big concern, and in 2024, this was at 45%, and it is predicted, or it is our aim, to reach 60% in 2030, 75% in 2040, and 90% in 2050. So what is the role of the observatory in following up policies? Here we have a scheme illustrating our monitorization process. So the long-term strategy gives rise to the observatory, which is in turn run by a strategic commission and a consulting commission. And the observatory creates the action plans, in this case, the 2025 and 2030, which is the current one. And this plan executes and monitors instruments. Also, it follows up with the responsible entities and evaluates the results from the instruments that it creates. And now we will take a look at this current action plan. So it was approved in the end of last year, and it follows the same 4 axes of the long-term strategy. Here you can see the state of execution of the 4 axes up to this day. So axis number 3 is the one with the highest execution, followed by axis number 2, and then followed closely by axis number 1 and number 4. In terms of the total execution of the action plan, we have here that 53% of the instruments are in execution, while 47% still remain to be executed. So how is the action plan structured? Here we have an example of one of our instruments, the efficiency voucher program, which is here at the base of the pyramid. And basically, how is it integrated in the plan? So first you have the strategic axis, in this case, promoting energy and environmental sustainability of housing, which is, by the way, axis number 1. Inside the axis, you have objectives. In this case, it would be increasing the energy efficiency of homes. Inside the objectives, you have measures. In this case, promoting energy efficiency in housing. Inside the measures, you have lines, which would be the rehabilitation of glazed areas. And then you have the instruments, the efficiency voucher program. Here we have also the total number of instruments in each axis. So axis number 1 has the most instruments, and the total number of instruments in this plan is 60. The observatory has a website that was launched first in 2024, but it was recently renovated in the end of last year. And it now has many new functions, such as an interactive map, where people can check how vulnerable each region of the country is to energy poverty. We also have, for instance, an atlas that maps current initiatives and projects that are combating energy poverty, as we will see in a bit also. So how does the observatory actually monitors and uses the data that it receives? The process starts with data providers who supply us the raw information, and this data is then validated and moves into a structured analysis phase where we transform it basically into usable indicators and insights. From there, the framework has 2 outputs. The first one is the publication of the data, because it ensures transparency and open access, including for the research and for the academic community. The second main output is the disclosure of this data, and here the analyzed data feeds into the preparation of reports and also the regular review of indicators, which allows us to track progress, to identify gaps, and also to refine the strategy over time. These results are then made publicly available through the web portal that we just saw, which ensures accessibility to all stakeholders and also a continuous feedback with academia and our data providers. So these are the main instruments that we have right now in execution, and we group them here into 3 categories. So in terms of support programs for families, we have the program for more sustainable families, which supports vulnerable households in improving the energy performance and also the comfort of their homes through renovation and efficiency measures. The efficiency voucher program helps low-income households implementing small-scale energy efficiency upgrades that reduce energy consumption and costs. And also the LR program, which focuses on supporting families to change their existing inefficient home appliances, for instance, switching a gas stove to an electric stove. And it's also important to note that all these 3 measures are funded by the environmental funds. Second, in terms of energy sharing and consumer protection, we have the instrument for renewable energy communities, which promotes energy sharing through a mechanism that finances the installation of renewable energy generation and collective self-consumption by renewable energy communities. The social energy tariff ensures access to essential energy services by reducing energy costs for economically vulnerable consumers. And this is, by the way, an automatic measure that is applied based on your income. And we also have broader protection measures for vulnerable consumers that aim to prevent interruptions of supply and also to guarantee a minimum energy access, especially in critical periods. Finally, in terms of information and knowledge tools, we have the Energy Spaces Network that we just saw also in the ODYSSEE and MURE portal. So yeah, it is a one-stop shop that helps citizens with advice and guidance and assistance on energy efficiency and the programs. We have the Energy Poverty Atlas that is present in our portal, which maps the initiatives and the projects that target energy poverty across the country. And lastly, we have the Energy Poverty Vulnerability Index, which is a map also present in our portal, an interactive map, and it helps monitor progress, and also it helps guide policy by tracking the performance of each region over time. So thank you, and if you have any questions, I'm glad to answer.
Thanks a lot, Madalena. As you spoke about the network of local spaces, and that it was also highlighted in Isabel's presentation, do you know how many spaces are now running already?
Yeah, so as of today, we have 119 spaces active throughout the country.
And it started last year, right? Is it correct?
Yes, exactly. It started last year in 2025.
So it's developing quite fast. So that's quite fast. That's interesting to see. Maybe another question before we move to the last presentation, a quick one. That's a usual one about observatories. Do you see it's still recent, the observatory, but do you see it as a way also to maintain energy poverty high on the policy agenda? Do you see a contribution on that to have this national observatory?
Yeah, of course. Since it requires a big coordination between different entities, it's basically almost forces parts of the government to look into energy poverty, because they are a part of the strategy and of the plan. So it keeps it always in the agenda.
Yeah, so that's a good benefit of it, and I think that's also something that was pushed by the new Energy Efficiency Directive in the recast with the Article 24 that member states should develop more this type of network for expert or observatories. So that's very nice to see the development that you presented for the Portuguese case. Now we will move to the last presentation of today. So we will continue from observation to action, if I'm correct. So we will check with another European project. We are happy also in ODYSSEE to team with sister project and still on this objective of cross-country experience sharing. And I'm happy to invite João Alpalhão for presenting us some developments and results from the SaveEnergy Together with a focus on the interventions done in Portugal. João, the floor is yours.
Thank you for the introduction. Good morning, everyone. My name is João Alpalhão. I work at ADENE in the technical projects team, and today I'm here to present to you SaveEnergy Together. It's an European project funded by the LIFE program of the European Commission. And from the previous presentations, I think we can all agree on one key takeaway, one of many. Energy poverty is, without a doubt, a multidimensional problem. and multidimensional problems do require multidimensional solutions, but more importantly, they require the involvement of everyone and everyone who is in contact with energy poverty, not only those who experience it directly, but municipalities who interact with it daily, neighborhood associations, solidarity organizations, housing managers, social workers, basically everyone. And that belief of involving everyone, that is one of the core foundations of SaveEnergy Together, or at least I really like to believe so. But before I tell you how we do this and how we try to involve everyone, let me briefly introduce the project. So SaveEnergy Together started in January 2024 and will run until December 2026. It includes 5 pilot regions: Austria, Germany, Slovenia, Lithuania, and Portugal. Our consortium has 4 energy agencies, so a big focus there, 2 consumer associations, and Climate Alliance, who needs no introduction. And I would highlight the Austrian Energy Agency because they are the project coordinators. Going to the project itself, SaveEnergy Together has 2 main objectives. First, identify, study, and implement short to medium term energy saving measures, and they are particularly focused on citizens that are vulnerable to energy poverty, and we try to reinforce the principle of energy efficiency first. And then also to define a pilot territory in each country and develop a local action plan that prioritizes low cost or no cost energy interventions. And then we want to implement campaigns that promote and disseminate those interventions. In Portugal, our pilot region is located in Braga, in the municipality of Braga. ADENE is based in Lisbon, and Braga is 362 kilometers away from us. So distance between us and our pilot region is an obstacle, but luckily Braga City Council has been a key partner, and they help us to ensure that we have strong connections with the local actors, and that has been crucial to our project, specifically because our work has focused on 2 particularly neighborhoods in the municipality, the neighborhood of Andorinhas and Parretas. Each pilot region has a campaign implementation group, and this is very important to us. It's basically a regional group that are composed of relevant stakeholders, and this group was very clearly one of the key factors to ensure success for our project initiatives. It's very hard to say, or to not say impossible, to design initiatives, or at least successful initiatives, without local support, specifically initiatives that target such a specific target group. So our campaign implementation group has 7 different organizations. I would particularly highlight the European Anti-Poverty Network, the Braga Municipality, and Braga Habit. And I would highlight these 3 because of these 3 points. So Braga Municipality gave us a tremendous support in disseminating our initiatives and reaching the municipal actors. And Braga Habit, which is the municipal company that is dedicated to the rehabilitation of urban buildings and the management of social housing support, they were fundamental to us because their day-to-day directly with our target group, people vulnerable to energy poverty, and they gave us very valuable insights on how to reach our target group, how to communicate, when to communicate, and where, specifically where. So this local knowledge made a total difference. But moving on to the highlights of our campaign, that is what brought us here. There are 2 I would like to share, but first I would also like to, in a very simple and brief manner, to explain how we got there. So we started by identifying our pilot region and target group, like I said, and then across our consortium, we identified around 70 potential energy efficiency interventions that were considered relevant and for dissemination and for the campaigns. And they were grouped into 3 categories, so behavioral, medium investment, and high investments, and they covered 4 main areas: space heating, domestic hot water, electricity, and mobility. Now, obviously, not all interventions were relevant for all regions, so each region had to reflect on which interventions were to be used in the campaigns. For example, climate differences between Portugal and the Northern European countries significantly influence heat needs and energy systems, and even more importantly, behavioral aspects. So we did end up with different interventions packages on each pilot. But moving on to the highlights, important to say that the campaigns in Braga, in our pilot region, had a very strong focus on behavioral changes and promoting the idea that small actions can generate significant impact over time. So it's impossible to talk about our activities without highlighting the energy literacy sessions we did in schools. So we delivered more than 15 sessions and reached around 600 students so far, from primary to secondary schools. And why students? Because students can act as multipliers. They bring knowledge home, they influence households' behavior, and they're very effective in spreading the message. And going back to the start of my presentation, I referenced using multidimensional solutions. And if we want multidimensional solutions, we must also inspire young minds. That's something we really try to do, not only to SaveEnergy Together, but also at ADENE as a whole, and specifically help the young generations understand what energy is, why saving energy matters, and how they can contribute to the energy transition. We also promoted initiatives aimed at the vulnerable groups and the general public. So we also did awareness sessions for citizens living in municipal housing neighborhoods, like I said, Andorinhas and Parretas. We used those sessions to also try and collect some information about our target group, to try and listen to them, understand their needs, and to try to find out what kind of information they want us to bring to them. So that was really important. And while our school sessions focus around energy literacy, sessions for citizens also promoted the share of resources and, for example, how to read energy bills, how to quickly change suppliers, the financial incentives that are available to them, and how they can apply and how they can get help to apply to them. And we try to take advantage as much as we can with synergies, with initiatives that are promoted by the Braga City Council to improve our success rate. It's very hard to get people to come to you. At the beginning of the project, we learned that the hard way. So then what we tried was to go to them as much as we could. So identifying some moments where we could interact directly with the population was very, very relevant. We also did door-to-door visits in collaboration with Braga Beat's social support teams. So we went to some houses, and we still want to go to more, but that direct contact with the population not only allows us to build some trust, but it gives us the chance to provide personalized advice, and that's really important. And then as a token of solidarity, we also distributed some on-off power strips just to help reduce standby electricity consumption. It's one of the interventions of SaveEnergy Together, and also to show them a practical example of how they can apply that in their homes. But SaveEnergy Together isn't just about on-field activities. Each pilot had created something we call an online hub, where we present the project and the action plan. But even more importantly, we share our events and our activities and what we've done so far. But also some resources, and resources can be other relevant projects, or it can be initiatives at a national level, but also videos and fact sheets. And here are some examples. These fact sheets were developed under the scope of another European project, but were adapted to fit into the SaveEnergy Together scope and behavioral energy efficiency interventions. It's basically very straightforward information, simple language, simple manner, trying to disseminate how we can save energy with behavioral actions. And although today's focus is more on the Portuguese pilots, I would like to very briefly mention some inspiring examples from our partners and what happened in other regions. And I'll start with Lithuania. They also did a lot of awareness sessions, specifically in public parks and leisure areas, trying to engage with the community. And they had a very strong focus on renewables. With the current conflicts close to their border, the country does face a need to improve their resilience and to be more energy independent. So that was a very big topic there. Then in Austria, they did some live demonstrations showing how to, for example, and they did others, but as an example, how to use firewood for space heating in a more efficient way. In Slovenia, they focused on participating in large-scale public events. So since they are a consumers association, there's already a lot of tools they developed. So they tried to disseminate it as much as they could. And lastly, a very inspiring example from ESA, where they try and find out energy-efficient homes or homes that perform some kind of renovations, and then promote an open house day where people can come visit those houses and they can learn more from the homeowner's perspective. And I think this is very interesting. And just to finish up, so just some next steps. We still have 10 months of SaveEnergy Together ahead of us, and we will make the best we can of that time. My last note is that we will still focus on make sure we keep a close contact with the community. We're actually going back to Braga in 2 weeks, I think. So we'll keep doing our awareness sessions and promoting door-to-door visits. And we also want to extend those sessions to senior universities and day centers and keeping up our good work. So that is it from my side. Thank you for your attention. You can find my contact details below, and please feel free to reach out if I sparked some interesting things about SaveEnergy Together and you want to learn more. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, João. That's very interesting to see the diversity also of interventions that you developed. I think that closed the loop very well with what João Pedro presented earlier, and the need to consider diversity on both sides. I mean, on the side of the households and the different situations they may face, and also the diversity of intervention that might be implemented. I hope that participants can stay a few more minutes. I'm sorry we are late, but I see that we have a few questions left in the Q&A panel, and thanks for that. I may come back first to the questions to the observatory, and then I will come back to you, João, about the questions about the local interventions and campaigns. So I will start with an easy one, I hope, from Didier, who is probably Didier Bosbeuf, the former coordinator for ODYSSEE and MURE. How is the observatory funded? And maybe just to clarify, which entity is managing the observatory? I guess it's ADENE, but just to check.
So the observatory is the financing for the measures comes from the state budget. Some other measures are also funded by environmental funds and by European funds. And yeah.
But I think he was more referring to the funding of the observatory itself.
The observatory itself is funded by the state budget. Yeah.
Okay, and it's managed by ADENE, right?
It's managed by ADENE and by the Direction General for Energy.
Okay,
and
as well.
some government members
as well. Okay, no, thanks. Still on the observatory, the second question is from Eva. I'm sorry if I pronounce badly the name. Gero Azi. How energy poor households are identified in order to be qualified for renovation support or any other energy poverty measures? So I would put it in another word. Maybe I'm sorry if I alter the questions, but is the way you monitor the energy poor households in the observatory the same criteria as used for eligibility to measures?
Yeah, so it depends on the program. Some programs are directed specifically at the most vulnerable consumers. So consumers, for instance, who already have the social tariff implemented. So they already have, they are low-income households, and they are already flagged. And some programs are directed specifically for them. So you can only access it if you already are using this social tariff. For instance, the efficiency voucher program. And then you have programs that are more open to the population in general. So it depends on on the program. And with this new index, this new vulnerability index, we are able to target more the instruments for according to the vulnerability also of each region.
Okay, so if I understood well your last sentence, it means that the work of the observatory is also meant to improve the targeting of the measures. Is it
Yes,
correct?
exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
to refine also the instruments.
The next question is about the network of information spaces. So I don't know if it's directed to Isabel or Madalena. I'll let you agree between you who will answer. And it is from Orla Dingley. How do you decide where a local information space will be located? Is any of it to do with your vulnerability index? So do you cross the map that you develop in the observatory to prioritize the local spaces?
So it's a very good question. So when we first developed the energy spaces, we didn't have access to the vulnerability index. So basically, the first objective was to have an energy space for every 80,000 citizens, and that was the initial goal. Yeah. So right now they are promoted. They are operated by local and regional entities, and they were predicted to be 114 by the Recovery and Resilience Plan with a national coverage.
Okay, so that's also good to see another positive effect of the observatory, I presume. And the last question is directed to maybe to the presentation by João on the SaveEnergy Together project. That's from Mila Manquillo. What type of campaigning efforts you have found the most successful among the residents of local pilots? And he or she suggests that you may highlight only one, but if you want to highlight a few ones, that's also fine with me.
So trying to say what's more effective or less in SaveEnergy Together, it's hard. It's a bit of a curveball because it's actually very hard to quantify the impact of low cost or purely behavioral interventions, especially in the context of energy poverty. So when we talk about structural renovations, you can calculate energy performance improvements quite precisely, right? But when it comes to behavioral changes, like reducing eating hours or adjusting your fridge set point, that cost-benefit analysis can be way more complex. So you can certainly estimate savings and try to assign numerical values, but the real-life impact depends heavily on consistency and the behavioral aspect of it and if it's maintained. So we know that small actions, when consistently applied, generate meaningful savings over time. That's the whole motto of the project, I guess. But in energy vulnerable houses, even small reductions in consumption can represent significant financial relief. So, and at the same time, we need to be very careful because behavioral advice should never compromise comfort or health. And energy efficiency in the context of energy poverty is not about using less at any cost. It's about using energy in a more informed way. So it's very hard to say to us what worked best or which low-cost interventions are best to apply. It's just an overall package, and it's very, very hard to quantify. At least that's my understanding of it.
No, I would say the same about also the importance of the maintaining the effort over time. I think that's one that is very important. Maybe João Pedro, you want to react on this one as well, because through EPAH you also work on similar type of interventions.
Yeah, and I also can address the question from Joana Cipriano on the vulnerability index, because in fact was our team that developed it for the observatory, so I can get some details on that as well. But yeah, so the type of interventions we have been testing also in EPAH, and again, trying diversity approaches, because it can be through one-stop shops, one place, the device point that people can reach out. Sometimes that is not successful, because an interesting insight also from the network of energy spaces understanding, if people are reaching also those spaces, and sometimes it's very difficult. So the approach is to rely on, as João was mentioning, on deep community engagement, like relying on already structured entities on the territory, like social entities, a good communication package, let's say, from at the public level, at direct contacts, to trying to let's say connect better with vulnerable consumers, with the different entities, to try to grow the solutions at local level. So I think the connection with pre-existent structures and partners on the local level, it's really important. Besides the relevance also of the willingness to address energy poverty from local government. So João also mentioned the commitment from Braga as an example, and we also see this across Europe. So if a local government, if a ministry, whatever at whatever level, thinks that it's important to address it, it's already a good step forward to look into the problem. Yeah, and maybe if I can tap into the Joanna's question on the index. So this was, as Madalena was mentioning, this was released in December online on the observatory, but it was a long story of it, and the sharing of information and survey to different entities. So from local government to experts working on energy poverty in Portugal, to address what would be the relevance of different indicators within the index, what would be the priority of some of the components of the index. So it's let's say an index built with a community working on energy poverty and energy across the country, which is an advancement from previous research work we have also conducted on energy poverty vulnerability assessments at regional level. Because one important thing, I think, and we try to do this also with EPAH, with regional data, it's one thing is saying that Portugal or Greece is better than Cyprus or Spain. That is relevant, of course, at European level, but going beyond that for regional level data, regional level assessments, was exactly as Madalena was mentioning, maybe could be relevant for next funding schemes from the Social Climate Fund, for example, targeting not only people with a social tariff, but maybe prioritizing specific regions, not only for energy support, but also for funding on targeted measures.
Thanks a lot, João Pedro. I also agree that granularity is important, so not only in data and analysis, but as João and you said also, in the way the interventions are designed, so they considering the diversity of households and the situation they face. Okay, that's perfect. And I thank very much all the participants who made the effort to stay until the end, because we are a bit behind, so that was a bit longer than planned, but I think that was worth to address the questions. I thank very much all the speakers, Isabel, Madalena, João Pedro and João for the presentation. As said, you will soon receive the message when the proceedings are available on the website, and I also encourage you to keep in touch with all the initiatives that have been presented today, the links that have been shared in the chat, and obviously with ODYSSEE and MURE. With that, I say bon appétit if you have not eaten your lunch yet, and a good afternoon. Thanks a lot. See you soon.
Thank you all. Bye.